since we're on the topic of education, I wanted to take this opportunity to ask perhaps a more controversial or like more debatable topic. So the focus on developing human skills for AI power workforce is great. We talked about a lot about that during our webinar today. But how can we ensure equal access to AI education and training resources? And won't this create a further divide between those who can afford to develop these skills and those who can't? I know that was a big question, but
So there's a research study that came out from OpenAI where they looked at, okay, so those after a year that it came out, they looked at who are using the ChatGPT beta, and beta meaning the results. What they identify was people who have less education tends to be better, which is ironic. The reason why, it's because the way they talk to it, the way they talk to ChatGPT. What they found out was like people who were already in a niche tend to ask very specific questions. And when you ask specific question, you don't get the best result. And if you ask questions too vague, you don't get the best result. And so what we found out was like people who are just very able to communicate, to explain their train of thoughts to ChatGPT, tended to have much, much better result. No. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think that is definitely a pressing issue that I don't think is, talked about enough. So thank you for bringing it up, because I mean, we need to shed light on this. But ultimately, I mean, there's only so much as us individuals I think we can do. Like, I think a lot of it to a certain extent goes onto the companies. They have to make sure that it is accessible to everyone, having those built in maybe accessibility options, which I don't think ChatGPT really does a good job at this right now. So I think that is like an area to really further research. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer about it, but I think that is somewhere that needs to be explored further. Yeah.
Definitely. In terms of accessibility, you just need internet connection. And this, like, Google has Gemini, Bing has Bing AI, and yeah, I think it's just playing with it, just doing
yeah,
it
no,
itself. Yeah.
it's definitely like a new issue that arises and is escalating very quickly with AI. And Rayfel, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I apologize if I am, but he asked, according to money.com, 60% of Americans are anxious about losing jobs to AI, yet find it hard to learn about AI in simple format. Have you found any channels on Instagram or other short video format that teach AI? For instance, Instagram has a 1.3 monthly audience, yet there is a gap in terms of content channels providing AI education. Do you think there's an opportunity in this?
I so we I would ask what kind of education you're looking for. Are you looking for anything specific, Raphael? Let's say that you're looking for something more generalist for pure education. I think Google, LinkedIn, Coursera, UDX, and a lot of what Alexandra mentioned. That's a starting point. But it's also just doing it yourself. That's the best way to learn, because the way the courses are created is based on other people's experience, and your needs might be different. And it's really just to play around with it. And those courses give you a base to start off. You can, I mean, the reason why ChatGPT was free and is free is because OpenAI wants the data about how you're going to use it. because they don't have all the answers. And the whole point of having open source is that they want to experience, see, okay, this is something, this idea how using ChatGPT, maybe that's a business idea. And then 6 months later, it comes out that tool feature as an extension. But for me, it's pretty much start looking at some of the courses, look how to best talk to the AI. And the best way to talk to the AI is literally just talking to another person, hence communication. And then just to keep the follow-up questions and see how you can target your questionings based on their response. The reasons why the quality of the response vary is because there are security guidelines, and the security guidelines blocked us from having a full conversation and then this internet access as well. But that's basically my position. Any thoughts on this, Alexandra?
Yeah, one thing I will say is that there are probably many creators on TikTok, Instagram that do kind of focus more on AI aspects. But I think one thing to keep in mind is that they have, I guess now with TikTok, you have 10 minutes. But realistically, who's going to watch a 10-minute video? We're all about the quick stuff. So I think if you want like a really high level overview of, okay, like what is AI? Maybe then it might be useful, but like really going into the in-depth and kind of getting all of that knowledge is not, I don't think it's going to be that useful to kind of just follow a creator. I think you can follow a creator that like keeps up with the news, and like if something amazing comes out that day, like being able to be updated on that, I think that's great. And then one thing I also would say is that a lot of the times now, especially like now that I'm back being a student, I use TikTok and Instagram as a means to like release, not to like gain more knowledge. I already do that in all my classes. So it's really just to be able to like have a good time. So I think, if I'm in that mindset where it's kind of just like watching TV to me, like, and just scrolling, then that's not the appropriate time for me to be getting all of that knowledge. So I think it's kind of a fine line. If you, yeah. But it could be a great tool if people want to like seek it out. But I don't think the only means of educating people would be through Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because I also try to separate work and life. I think I tend to do all my work on my laptop and just have fun on my phone, just to like not get distracted when I work and not work when I want to get distracted. And speaking of, I guess concerns that final question. I guess speaking of concerns that AI rises, we talked slightly about privacy concerns, and I wanted to ask, like, how can we leverage AI responsibly? For Billy, perhaps you specialize in marketing. You can talk more about marketing. How can we leverage AI responsibly while maintaining customer trust and ethical data practices? And if anything happens, would it be like, for example, like a data leak? Would it be on the consumer burden, or like the product burden, or the company burden?
Yeah, so if there's a data leak, is it more on customers or the company that's managing the? Well, if there are comes from the private company, then yeah, if you get hacked, let's say if you're a consumer, then we agreed to it. I mean, everything that we want to sign on to a Google account, we agreed to provide everything. It's on both sides, because if there are some services, well, a lot of services for us to perform, we need to have the data. I mean, Google, to be indexed on Google, you need to have the information that you've been to that page. So it's a give and take. We have to decide what's the balance of how much information we're willing to give and how performant do you want the tool to be. Because AI is pure data. Without access to information that it can be trained on, the response is going to be limited. And there's really two school of thoughts when it comes to AI. There's the Asian version, which is led by China, which is essentially, yeah, AI is fantastic, but we want to limit how much data is being trained on, and provides a lot of restrictions on the guidelines to how to use AI. That's why ChatGPT doesn't work in China or in a lot of Asian countries. Then there's the US-led version, which is more of laissez-faire. Although the laissez-faire, prevents it from having direct access to the internet. Heads up, a lot of companies saying that they have direct access, they have a delayed access. That's the way I describe it. The US led allows you to create amazing product as a result of it, because of the data it's trained on. And so it's for us, we have to, as users, see what's our priority. Do you want more performing AI, or do you want to protect our own privacy? And I think it's a fine line. How about you, Alexandra? What do you think?
I don't see it that much as black and white. I think there is probably a way to do both, where you do get, you know, have some of that data, but it's not like it's collected responsibly, and there's no worry of data leakages or stuff like that. So I'm more of a kind of gray and neutral. And I think, to Matthew's point, I think you said something about like how we ensure. I can't remember exactly, but I think what plays a big part here as well is, transparency. These companies should be kind of telling us some of these models. Yes, they're black box, but there are some explainability metrics and stuff like that. So being able to kind of be transparent in what they're using the data for, how they're using it, how they're training these models, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where I am at that point. The logistics of how that actually happens, I think, are way above my pay grade. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I see. Thank you. It seems like during today's webinar, we covered a lot, from the big picture of how AI can affect the world, from our daily lives to the job market, to how we can actually leverage AI, and what skills we need and how to succeed in the AI world. Well, thank you to everyone who participated throughout the webinar. And as we wrap up, I encourage you to reflect on all the valuable insights shared today and consider how you can apply them in your own life or your work. And let's carry forward this momentum and continue to inspire positive changes